Give me 1 second. I don't have an audio.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, July 28th, 2026. It is 6 p.m. and I will call this regular meeting of the Barre City Council to order. First item of business is adjustments to and approval of the agenda. Council, do you have any adjustments? Or Mr. Manager or Acting Manager or Police Chief, whatever I choose to call you. Council, I only have one under approval of the minutes of the consent agenda. We had a regular meeting on 7/14. We actually had a special meeting on 7/14 as well. Both sets of minutes were in your packet.
Okay.
So any other adjustments to the agenda?
I do have to add one thing.
Of course.
In order for the JPs to be placed on the general election ballot, I do need the approval of the council. Otherwise, they would be on separate ballots. And this is because they are being mailed out by the state to all registered voters.
Okay, would you like that under 4H on the consent?
Sure.
Okay, so council will put that under 4H, and that would be entitled approval of Justice of the Peace ballot?
Approval of citywide mailing of Justice of the Peace.
Well, you're going to do the minutes, so
Yes.
figure it out.
Yep.
Okay, but council, that will be under 4H under the consent agenda. Yes?
I put on my memo that for E, which was the approval of the deputy health officer, can be removed from the agenda because it was addressed at the last council meeting.
Correct. And there's a new system, so I actually got the deputy, and yeah, you have to attest. So I learned that the hard way this week. But we're all caught up, and I've given them I've given them all of the paperwork, so they're all good. Anything else, council? Okay. So hearing and seeing no further discussion regarding the agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. It's moved in a second, please. And moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, thank you very much. Under item 3 is visitors and communications, and will be If anyone would like to address the council regarding an item that is not on the agenda, this is your time.
We also have
Yes?
someone on Zoom.
I'm sorry?
We also have someone on Zoom.
Oh, thank you. Connie, I'll get to you in just a moment. Would you like to go? Thank you. And I know you, but if you could state your name for the record, that would be great.
Thank you. My name is Mel Chombell. You might know me from previous iterations. I'm here just to ask that maybe there be a correction to the minutes from last week, specifically regarding the meeting up at Hilltop. And the things I'd like to cover are terminology, I guess I'd say. In the minutes, it said the Telia Company requested to create a community garden at 15 Hilltop. And in fact, in Telia Tea Company's website, it specifies it as a microfarm and an LLC, and therefore is a for-profit entity, which I think needs to be specified, and also specified that there's no real understanding as to what the tea company is. Is that specific garden on 15 Hilltop a garden? Is it a tea garden? Is it a community garden? It is a Ward 1 community garden, or is it a microfarm? And all of those words were used at the meeting. And I think there needs to be some specificity about what it is, that's all.
Okay, specifically in the minutes, right?
I'd like it to be reflected that part of the meeting was, what is the entity?
Well, that ship kind of sailed because under the consent agenda, we actually approved the minutes as presented, so that would have been the time for you to speak up, but the council voted. Vote
I
stand.
don't think we have yet.
Oh, we haven't. Okay, this is under discussion.
I actually.
So you want to change it? What would you like it to say?
I
What are
would
you
like
offering?
specificity as to that subject having come up
Okay,
in that, that's all,
okay.
okay?
Right, but could you be a little more specific? Because if you're proposing to change the minutes, then the council will have to consider it and accept it, but we
Okay.
need something a little more.
So let me just look at this.
Do you want my copy?
May I ask a question? May I ask a question?
Of course.
Are you suggesting that we simply add after Telia Tea Company LLC? You want to add LLC after their name? To
Yes,
make sure that it's clear
and
that they're,
If you add the LLC, that would be really helpful. And if you also add that one of the concerns at the meeting was if that specific garden is a tea garden, is it part of a microfarm? Is it a microfarm? Is it a garden? It is a community garden, or is it a Ward 1 community garden? Because I heard all of those terms being thrown around that day.
so,
Yeah.
can I follow up? I'm not sure we can amend the minutes because I don't think we defined it. And I think maybe we could say in the minutes that those terms were used interchangeably, but maybe we could discuss that when we discuss it.
I'm happy either way. I just wanted this voiced.
Yeah.
Because I think it needs to be voiced.
Well, I think that's some of the confusion, so I appreciate that.
So how about if
I
we
think
do?
that's some of the
how
confusion.
about, Mel, if we do comma, LLC, we put that in there, and then in parentheses, but only in the first reference, we could put a Vermont limited liability company. Because how you form in Vermont as an entity is important. If you're not formed as a nonprofit, you're not a nonprofit. And if you're formed as a corporation, if you're formed as a limited liability company, there's an assumption that, well, there's not an assumption, you are a for-profit entity. Whether or not you make a profit is something different.
Exactly.
But you are in fact
Understood.
a for-profit
I
entity.
understand that.
Would you be okay with that? Happy to do it. Any objection from the council?
No.
Yes.
Just as a follow-up, you also want to say that those terms were used, microfarm, community garden,
Ward 1 community.
Ward 1 Community Garden. They were used
and tea
interchangeably, and Tea Garden, and it wasn't defined.
And there was no clarity as
Okay.
to what it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's fair, because I think you're correct, that all of those terms were used.
okay.
If I may, I'm sorry, we're getting bogged down in the minutes already. I don't think that's a fair add in this, because there is one sentence in here that covers the conversation that encompasses that already. And if we start to add specificities of the conversation, we have to go back and redo the entire minutes and have everyone's statements reflected in the minutes. Right now, it just
Let me be
says,
clear about one thing, for everyone who's here. If you think that the council is voting on who gets to use Hilltop Avenue this evening, you're going to be really disappointed. We're talking about process. We're talking about what we need to do going forward. We're not talking in specifics about anyone who is in support, anyone who is opposed. They don't have a place in this conversation. We're talking with Ms. Taylor about how the city moves forward and creates a model that we hope will be used going forward. So you're all welcome to participate in the discussion. I just want to be really clear about what we're doing, and there will be a time when we may or may not be talking about a specific agreement with the tea company. But that's not this evening.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah, that, I just wanted what this conversation has all been about. to be
Understood.
On the table.
Yep. Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to say a few words if I could.
We're not at that point in the agenda yet. We're talking about the minutes. Matter of fact, we're not even at the consent agenda yet, folks. We're actually talking about whether anyone would like to address the council regarding an item that is not on the agenda. That's where we are in the agenda. We're at item 3, visitors and communications. Connie, how are you?
I'm good. Can
Would you
hear
like
me?
to address the council? Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
yes.
Oh,
You
God.
have a very soft voice, Connie. If you could speak up just a little bit, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
That's great. Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Okay. I've been watching the council meetings for many, many years, and it's been many, many years since the ordinances have been reviewed. Sue Higbee, Michael Smith, oh gee, I knew them all a minute ago. Anita, Michael, our Representative Booton, and Charlie Dindo, and I can't remember the other person. Anyways, we're all on the council, and I think you were mayor, and we went over all the ordinances, but it's been many years, and as long as Chief Vale is being temporary manager, I think it would be a good time to go over them again. There's some that are there that are ridiculous. I mean, like the Jake break one. Tell me a shucker that knows that is on there. And of course, my pet peeve, the bicycles on the sidewalk. Okay, just wanted to put that out there. It's been a lot of years. Thank you.
Well, I'll write down Jake breaks, Connie, but we will be talking, I can't tell you when, it'll be in the future. We will be having a discussion at the council level about e-bikes. A lot of
Good.
people using them, saw them at the Heritage Festival this weekend. Thankfully, most folks are really responsible. They keep them off the sidewalks, they keep them at a safe speed. There were several others, not so much. So we will be having, I'll work Jake breaks into it, Connie, but we will be having the discussion, like I said, about, it'll obviously touch on bikes on the sidewalk because we'll be talking about e-bikes. And
Yep,
whether
and
the city,
electric skateboards and electric scooters,
Yeah.
and they're all on the sidewalk. Thank you.
you're welcome, Connie. I appreciate the reminder. Anyone else under visitors and communications? Yes, ma'am.
Maybe it's just a process question, because I'm trying to catch up how.
Sure.
So the draft minutes, is that on, will we be discussing that today?
We will.
Okay.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that is next under the consent agenda. So I'm sorry, I didn't see or hear anyone else under visitors and communications. Is that correct? Okay, so we will move on, council, to the consent agenda. be asking you to approve the minutes of the regular and special meetings of 7/14/26, the emergency meeting of 7/16/26, clerk's office license and permits. You have,
Yes, I have one. It's the Turning Point of Central Vermont Overdose Awareness. It's scheduled for August 1st at Courier Park from 5 PM to 8:30 PM.
okay, thank you very much. Council, you'll be approving the state auditor's internal financial controls checklist, the annual presentation. That was in your packet. You'll be approving the water and sewer rates resolution 2026-10 and approving a $50,000 allocation for a water system rate study. You will be approving the DAR Rebecca Hastings marker letter of support, and you'll be authorizing the acting city manager to execute any contracts as needed. Mr. Manager, do you have any contracts that you need to execute this week?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm sorry?
And then what I...
Oh, and then H, you'll be approving the, I'm going to make you say it again.
Approving to mail the ballots with JP names on it citywide.
Thank you very much. Council, a motion and a second would be in order.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Now we're discussing the minutes. So, yes.
I just have one regarding the regular meeting on July 14th. Under F, approve FY27 flood resiliency plan. We made a motion to approve the amended plan, but that's not in there. So if you could just add that we made a motion and approved the plan, that would be
Yep.
great. Thank you.
Thank you. And you had a comment regarding the minutes, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hi again. So as I said, I'm trying to catch up how the city does things, and I was looking at the draft minutes. And it doesn't seem to reflect, usually when I've been working in state government, usually when the minutes, they're pretty detailed about what took place. And so when I was going through the minutes, the community garden, it's always referred to the community garden, so I was confused too, because the sign on the lot just says garden. So like Mel, I would like the minutes to reflect that it's a community garden on the sign. And actually, there's no community garden there, so I'm confused why is it a garden? It's a community garden. It's a community garden. Every community garden I've been a member of, it's not a for-profit business. It's us trying to grow food for ourselves. And so if it's a community garden, I'd like to submit an application to use equal size of that lot to grow vegetables for me and other people.
Okay, you're out of order.
What?
That's not what we're talking about now. You're telling me what you'd like to do. We're talking about the minutes.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. And so I was, okay, I'm looking at my notes. And during the minutes, I mean, the minutes say, it describes the lot is underutilized. And both times when I went before the council on the 16th and the 14th, I reminded the council that the residents of Hilltop Avenue never thought it was underutilized. So I would like the minutes to reflect that the Hilltop residents didn't think it was underutilized. We utilized it with family, dogs, so.
Well, I haven't spoken. I mean, would you like it on the record that you think it's not underutilized or that it's underutilized? What would you like your opinion to reflect in the minutes?
Well,
Because I can't allow you to speak for the entire Hilltop neighborhood because the whole neighborhood isn't here.
okay.
So
Like I said,
if
this
you'd like to
morning-
change the minutes to reflect the fact that, in your opinion, it is or is not underutilized.
That's fine. You could say, in my opinion, that it's not underutilized.
Okay.
That's
Can we
fair.
amend the minutes for that?
The other thing, when we were on the lot, we brought up the concern about safety. And so that's not reflected in the minutes. And,
Okay, we'll reflect in the minutes that you are concerned about safety.
oh, okay, so I'll have to say me.
Well, you're the only one in front of me
Okay,
right now.
no, that's good, I'm learning
Yes.
here.
Can we get her name?
Yeah.
Oh.
For the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, Maril Cray. I thought,
Sorry. Yes.
I guess I also have a point of order, which is that right now, what we are responding to is a proposal to amend the minutes to add in one attendee's point of view when the entirety of the conversation, as currently captured in the minutes, was captured by the line, residents of the general neighborhood area expressed their opinions about the garden, both in support and opposition. And I have process concerns about going back to add specific statements or perspectives at that meeting when not all of them are captured.
Yep. Point well taken. Okay, so you'd like the council to consider the first point I made, which was you feel it is not underutilized.
correct.
And of course, the council can consider that, reject it, or approve the minutes as presented. And the second thing was you brought up concerns about safety.
Well, I'm not the only one, but right now I'm the
You're the
only
one in front of me. Yeah.
Yes, and so when we were up there, you said you were going to get Du Bois and King?
Where do you think we are in this process, ma'am? Have you listened to what I said as I prefaced this entire conversation and what the council is doing? That is exactly what we're going to do.
Okay,
I know process,
okay, well, I'm
and I know what I'm going to do.
Okay. I'm not sure because I thought I was going to talk about trying to make the minutes reflect what was discussed that day, but I guess I can't do that because I don't understand the process well enough.
Well, I think the clerk feels that the minutes are reflective of the conversation. I feel the minutes are reflective of the conversation.
Of everything that.
These
people said?
minutes are not going to capture every single word that the recording will.
Yeah.
But our minutes, I can guarantee you that our minutes will not capture this conversation, word for word. That's not what they're designed to do. That's
No,
not what by law we're required to do.
No, I understand that. I'm just was trying to narrow it down to the minutes the draft minutes, that they would capture what we were talking about on the 14th.
In general terms, they do.
Okay. That's it.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Bruce Epstein, for the record. I was at the meeting which I thought was a board meeting since you had a quorum.
It was a council meeting.
Okay. Did that constitute a quorum?
Yes.
Would justify meeting minutes for that?
I think you know the answer to the question that you're asking me. I certainly do.
Okay.
Whenever there is a quorum of the council present and we are discussing city business, that is in fact a city council meeting.
So the conversations that were held, there's no record on what happened on that date, or what people testified?
There are minutes of the meeting.
Just the current minutes of the meeting, that's all
Correct.
you have, which says some for and some against.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Council, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you very much. Council will move on to item 4A on the agenda. We'll be approving the city warrants for the week of 7/29/26, and we will be ratifying the week of 7/22/26. A motion and second would be in order. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion carries.
I'm
Your
abstaining.
abstention is noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. City Clerk, it's all yours.
Okay. A couple of things I want to bring to everyone's attention is the timeline for the tax bills. We have been getting a lot of calls about where's my tax bill, because they usually are out by now. The grand list will be lodged on the 29th, which is tomorrow. And then we will bring the proposed tax rate to the council for approval on August 4th. Then on August 6th, we will send the interim because the school budget has not been passed, so there will be an interim bill, to the printers for printing. And we are hoping to have them in the mail by the 14th of August. The due dates for this year, 2026 through 27, is first quarter, September 15th, second quarter, November 16th, third quarter, February 15th, and the fourth quarter, final quarter, May 17th, 27. Now, in between there, because the election for the school board is September 15th, there will be a final bill, but it depends on whether that budget passes on the 15th or not. So just always keep it, I'll try and keep you updated as much as possible on that.
So,
And I will put something out on Front Porch Forum.
assuming passage on September 15th, how much time is needed to prepare and mail?
Well,
the
we
bills?
do have to wait, is it 30 days? You have to wait 30 days.
So, so that would be October 15th before you could even, although I know you'll do the work
Right.
beforehand, assuming passage.
Right. So I'm guessing, I'm hoping maybe before the 15th, the final. Carol may have better insight on that one. We've done this before in 2024,
Yeah.
and I think it was finally passed in September back then.
Carol Doss, City Treasurer. We've been working on the timeline for this. Because you have to wait at least 30 days before the state will issue you your education, your homestead education tax rate. And they won't do it immediately at 30 days. 30 days is when they finally get around to start calculating. So it takes a few more days. That gets us relatively close to the November 15th tax payment deadline. So the last time we went through this 2 years ago, what we decided to do was to wait until after that November 15th deadline to issue the final tax bills, which allowed us, and we worked with our vendors to, in addition to have the tax bills show the new final amounts, it also showed credits. So we were able to show there what people had paid for September and for November and show what the balance due was. So that's what we're looking at for the same timetable this time around. So the tax bills would go out probably the latter half of November, depending on when we have a school budget, when we have a homestead tax rate. So
Okay.
the non-homestead tax rate does not change. That tax rate is set by the state now. It will be the same both on the bills that go out that we create the latter part of next week and on the final bills. But the homestead tax rate, we're working with an interim homestead tax rate as set by the state. Next week, when I present you with the calculations for the municipal and the local agreement tax rates, I will have all the supporting materials with all the various and sundry numbers that we're working with at this stage of the game, so.
So as I recall that 24 exercise, so the August coupon will have this is the final bill. The August coupon had an amount printed on it that was owed. Is that correct?
You're talking
Obviously-
about the interim bill, the
No,
first bill?
talking about the final.
The final bill. The final bill will show you the total amount due broken into 4 quarters. And then underneath it, it'll show you the credits that you have made, the payments you have made. And it'll show you, because of course, the final homestead tax rate will be higher than the interim rate that we're working with. So there will be a slight balance due for the first and the second quarters, which will be, will have to be paid with the third quarter.
In February.
In February. And the other thing that we did, and all of this will be in a series of memos that will accompany the bills. The additional tax from the first quarter and the second quarter
will be due in February with the February installment and will not be considered late or delinquent until after the February installment. So that we give people plenty of time to catch up with those additional amounts.
But those will be due in February.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. And the memos will indicate, one of the advantages is we developed all these materials 2 years ago, so we're able to dust them off and use them again, so.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Can I just
Yes, of course.
comment, I guess? And then in addition to this layer of complication, we also are doing the no postmark.
Correct.
So we
Yep,
just
and
have to, that's a lot of information for
That language is
people.
now going to be on the back of each.
We have developed a very brightly colored insert that's been going out with all bills since the 1st of July to let people know about the change. We have, as we discussed back like in April or even earlier, we're doing sort of a one get out of jail free opportunity for people, once with taxes, once with water and sewer, as sort of a learning curve for the first 6 months. So we will keep track between now and the end of December if there are people who haven't caught that information. In addition to it going out with all the invoices that we're sending out now, it was included as a memo on the water bills that went out the 1st of June. We have revised the language on the tax bills, on the stubs on the back and on the front of the tax bill to reference it. That insert will also go out with all of the tax bills. We have put information on the city website. We have put it out on social media. So we are spreading the word. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Good job. We'll get it done. It's, going to be a little awkward, but we'll get it done. Okay, council will move on to item 6 on the agenda. This is the Liquor and Cannabis Control Board. Do you have anything for us?
I have two.
Go for it.
Pearl Street Pizza, first and third liquor, and their outside consumption permit, and Morse Block Deli, their first.
Okay, a motion would be in order?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion carries. The Liquor and Cannabis Control Board is adjourned. Acting City Manager's Report. Chief, how are you?
I am well.
Anything you'd like to share?
Sure. The transition with Nicholas's departure has been going smoothly. We're fortunate enough to have a great group of department heads that have been working collaboratively to keep business going as usual. We had another successful Heritage Festival, thanks to the hard work from the partnership and the city staff. I heard a lot of chatter about how great the fireworks were this year as well. So a lot of people are talking about that. A couple of personnel updates. Joel Carminetti has been appointed cemetery foreman and will begin that position on August 17th when he returns from vacation. And the position that he previously held has been posted. And Chief Cushman is working with Jeannie to finalize the details to post the vacant deputy fire chief position. And I'd like to mention again that next Tuesday, August 4th, is National Night Out, which we are holding in Courier Park as usual from 5 to 8 p.m.
Thank you. Any questions, council? And then, yes.
Not a question, more of an add to Chief Acting Manager's note of National Night Out next week, which is that the Police Advisory Council Committee has been doing some good work in getting some stuff ready to reach out to the public that evening and planning for future events as well. So look forward to seeing members of the PAC at that event.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Chief. Council, I met with the department heads. Fire Chief Cushman put a meeting together just to talk about the weather that's sort of moving through. We always keep, on matter of fact, at 5:32, thank you, Chief. A message went out on Regroup to let people know that, what we're thinking, that we are monitoring the situation. These storms could be a bit severe at times, and while we may get some standing water The storms are most likely, the prediction today is that they're most likely to impact the southern part of the state, and they could be rather severe there. But as you all know, storms, as we found out in 23, storms sometimes have a way of not following their predicted pattern. And so, we're monitoring it, but I have absolute confidence that that the chief, acting city manager, and fire chief, Department of Public Works, we talked about impacts on storm systems, impacts on construction, or potential impacts on construction. And so I think we pretty much covered everything, chief, and walked away from that meeting with a fair amount of gratitude for the thought that went into it, and also confidence that we are prepared. So thank you again for that. I appreciate it. Yes, of course.
The National Night Out, what time does that start? And last year, did we bump the meeting to 7? Michael's saying yes, Amanda's saying no.
Oh, we did.
No, I thought it started at 5 and we were at 6 and we were only there for a little while.
When does it start?
Starts at 5 p.m.
Okay, so we can go to 5 and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could if that's the council's prerogative. I don't believe we did last year,
I
so.
don't think we did.
We
thought we did,
kept it at
but-
6, and what we did is there were those of you who were having a better time than others. And so we allowed you to stay, and we simply made sure that we had a quorum, and there were
Okay.
several council meeting members that showed up
I just want to make sure.
half an hour or so late.
It starts at 5.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think we'll be okay, but if
Okay.
you want to change, I mean, that's something that, we can certainly do. Just let me know sometime next week or sometime this week if that's what you want to do.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So council, under new business, we have 8A is the volunteer appointment to the Cow Pasture Committee. You had an application from Mr. Rulo in your packet. Greg, how are you? You're on mute, so you'll have to shut it off. There you go. Almost. There you go.
Okay, you got me.
Not a
Thank
problem.
you.
Floor is yours if you want to just tell the council about your interest in the Cow Pasture Committee.
All right, well, I previously have been on the Barre City Cow Pasture Committee for the past 2 years. Recently, my term was about to expire. It got past me. I didn't realize it. I did take care of everything, the application stuff with Nicholas, but it was too late for him to get me on the most recent committee meeting, your Barre City Council meeting. He probably had other things to do, but either way, I missed the deadline, so my term expired. So I'm just asking to have my term renewed, another
Gotcha.
2 years.
Gotcha. Questions from the council? So just one from, well, two actually, Greg. The first is, obviously you've been on the board, so you understand the time commitment that's required, making meetings, the importance of making meetings, so you're prepared to make that commitment?
Yes, sir.
And secondly, because, again, I speak to other members on the committee, you're certainly passionate about, you're an outdoorsman. You're certainly passionate about snowmobiling. You do a lot with the Snowbees. You're very active in that club. And, so really for my own benefit, Greg, I just want to make sure that that same passion translates to all of the activities of the Cow Pasture Committee and not just, Snowbees. So if you can give me that assurance, I'm fine with it.
I will. I attend all meetings that I can make. I think I missed one in 2 years.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate that. And thank you for your service. Yes.
Greg, back in the day when we used to party at the cow pasture, do you have your initials in any of the trees up there?
Plead the fifth, Greg.
I was going to say.
Or you invoke the
Wave
Fifth
off.
Amendment,
Plead
Greg.
the fifth.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well done.
I played the fifth. There might be an empty bottle or somewhere that I might have forgotten to put back.
There you go. Council, motion to approve.
So
of the
moved.
order. Thank you. It's moved, it's seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, thank you very much. Motion carries. Welcome aboard, Greg. Welcome back, I should say. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Council will move on to item 8B on the agenda. This is the discussion regarding the process for land use, not just on Hilltop Avenue, but throughout the city with the FEMA buyout. Ms. Taylor, how are you?
Got caught in the rain. Good evening, I'm Tess Taylor, and I'm the Homelessness and Housing Liaison for the City of Barre, but I'm often called on to do other projects. So, I brought with me Amber, who is Tilia Tea Company, and she has a presentation just to get everybody on board with what she's doing and what she had done so far for this particular thing. And then what I would like to address, just, how we're going to process through this and all future applications. Sound good?
Well, I'd like to mix it up a little bit for you.
Okay.
Because a presentation from Amber would be a bit premature. What I want to talk about is the process. So starting, for example, with going back to the file, I don't recall who the consulting engineer was. It's too long ago for me. It was probably either Dufresne Group, Du Bois and King, or DeWolf. It had to be one of those three. So what I really want to talk about, Tess, is sort of the process going forward, not just for Hilltop, because obviously that's why a lot of folks are here, but I want to make sure that the council understands what the process is going to look like. For example, getting, and not just for Hilltop, but for any parcel within the city, if we're going to grant someone,
I have a question just about the way that we're describing this, because I'm concerned that, I'm sorry, I went to an open house and
Hello, my name is
Sonia Spalding. I'm concerned that we're discussing a process where I keep saying the toothpaste is already out of the tube. We've already given Tilia Tea Company permission to use that. Maybe not we as a council, but the city manager gave that to that business. And so while we can discuss how we maybe did that incorrectly and how we can move forward, it doesn't seem fair to make Tilia Tea Company jump through hoops when they've already gotten the approval. So I don't know if we're all on the same page. That's what I am thinking.
But that, if it's a business that's making profit, there's gonna be some different terms. I mean, you can't just have everybody start growing, and I have nothing against your business, but if you're actually making a profit and you're not paying rent to the city, is she? I mean, it's a business, so there's gonna be other.
But that's sort of a different conversation. The way I see this conversation, look, right, folks, right or wrong, you can disagree with me or not. What I heard when I was at that meeting repeatedly is that there was no process, that folks didn't know. They didn't know that this was happening. And I made the point at the meeting, and Nicholas didn't disagree with me, that Nicholas probably wished he had a do-over. So what should that process have looked like? Right. Now, there were also folks at that meeting who said you should terminate the use of that land immediately. Nope, not going to do that either. But I do believe we can take a step back, because I think that there are steps, whether it's this parcel or any other parcel, there are steps that should be taken. For example, it was never on a council agenda. So folks who might have wanted to address it didn't get that chance. So my thought was tonight, what I'd like to talk about, and again, whether it's this parcel or any other, what does our process look like? I think at a minimum, we need to have a consulting engineer out there to look at the proposed use and simply offer us their assessment. They're not going to assess the entire hillside. No one's going to. We're not going to core drill. That's not going to happen. We're going to look at the proposed use, and we're going to ask the consulting engineer one simple question. Will this proposed use, in their opinion, as an engineer, be detrimental to the current condition of the land? Will it be a detriment? And we'll let them decide. And I think that's a process we should follow, not just here, but also on Courier, any parcel that we do, unless it is not, this parcel happened to be impacted by basically some land fracturing. Not all parcels have. Some parcels are impacted simply by flooding. Well, there's no compromise to the land in that respect. Things like, is the soil safe? city's not going to determine whether it is or not. That's my opinion. We're not going to offer, we're not going to opine. Now, we may require someone who wants to grow there, we may say, you've got to do your own analysis, but we're not going to do it for you, because we're not going to test that soil and then have someone say, you tested the soil, your test results said it was fine, turns out it's not fine, you have a problem. We're going to tell the people, look, what you see is what you get. And if you need to test that soil, have at it. If you choose not to test the soil, understand that the soil has been tested. And then lastly, how do we let people know the proposed use? And how do we have that conversation and engage people? And whether it's this parcel, Courier Street, anywhere, some folks are going to be for, some folks are going to be against. So we just need, and that's why we get the big bucks, folks. We get to decide. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And again, Counselor, I'm not trying to make anybody jump through hoops. But what I am trying to do is create a process where, yes, Amber, you will likely be back here again. I believe there may be an agreement before the council again, and we'll have this same group here. So, but I promise you'll get notice this time that we're going to talk about a specific agreement, and I promise you that specific agreement will be in the council packet. And prior to the meeting, you can all go online and look at the agreement and opine to that. Yes?
Can I make a process suggestion?
Absolutely.
I think there's a conversation that has to happen before we get to the specifics of assigning FEMA lots. And I think that is a wider city conversation about what acceptable uses are. And I think we need to have a city conversation, because I think there's a certain amount of, misinformation, disinformation, uninformation, where people aren't sure what the FEMA lots, what you can do on a FEMA lot. There are people who aren't sure whether, for-profit uses shouldn't be allowed or should be taxed or should be, we just need to have a conversation where we talk about the categories of things that are going to be allowed on, because it's not just Hilltop and Courier, it's, lots of places. And I think that needs to be the first thing. We also need to have in that a strategy for what we do when somebody, as someone inevitably will, comes back to us with an idea we didn't think about. But I do think that the basic conversation about how we use our public shared space needs to happen, because I don't have any problem with gardens. I know how hard farmers work and how little profit margin they have. I had a flower farm. I know about this. And I also see in micro farming, I see that there are benefits to the city in the sense of supporting businesses and reducing the amount of city upkeep that needs to happen on these things. So, I think there's more, there are more factors that go into this, and that a citywide conversation about it would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, listen, I don't anticipate that we're going to solve this evening.
No.
This is going to be a series of meetings, so I don't necessarily, what we could start with, Counselor, is what you can't do on the property. And there are a number of things that you simply can't do. For example, if you want to build any sort of structure.
Right. So,
although, even when I say that, there actually are exceptions for certain types of playground equipment. So if a neighborhood in the North End said, look, we're going to fundraise and we want to raise $5,000 and we want to install some playground equipment, we'd have to consider that. So I think there's always going to be things that, gee, we didn't think about that one.
right.
So there's going to be some things that we're going to miss. Did you have a question? Yes.
I didn't have a question. I was hoping that we could also, thinking about all of the lots that have gone through FEMA buyouts lately, and the lots recently, and then the older lots, I think it would be helpful, because those are city lots. They belong to all of us. And it would be nice to have some kind of sign or something so people know. There may be people who live in that neighborhood who don't realize that those lots belong to everyone. And I think about, in the North End or on the other, like Courier Street, like maybe people don't realize that this now belongs to us. And so how can we get that message across as well?
Yep. Good point. You taking notes, Tess? Yes.
Kat Allen, I'm a Barre City resident, but I'm also here as one of the planning commissioners. And so to add to your point, Beth, one of the reasons I'm here tonight is to also have everybody consider what the goals are in the municipal plan when trying to determine what is best for the community in regards with these lots. Do the decisions and the policies get made support the municipal plan? And then I also think it's important to note that Planning Commission is actively working on the newest update to the municipal plan, right? And we do that every 6 or so years because needs of communities change. And so our future ideal goals that go into the plan reflect those changing needs of the community. So I would love for the commission to really work in tandem with the council on helping with some of those ideals.
Well, that would be welcome, Kat, because as I did look at the municipal plan this weekend, there is, and I think it just hasn't caught up.
Right.
There were just a few FEMA buyout lots around the city and probably didn't get thought about.
Yeah.
And now as I look at our municipal plan, I mean, we look at vacant lots and we talk about housing, talk about putting a structure on it. Well, we can't do that. So there's nothing in there in our, so I wish there was, and if the Planning Commission wants to help out, I would be all over that if they wanted to devote a page or two to this is what we should be doing with these lots. We should be maintaining them. We should be, and even though, hey, that comes at a cost, we should encourage utilization. I'd love that.
Yeah, thinking of like the other goals that are in there too about like how best to use city assets, how to add economic revitalization at low or no cost to the city as far as like infrastructure that they have to put in. I think there's a lot of tangential benefits that already align with some of these things, but we do need to think broader. We need to think about where the community is now, and that's part of the job of the Planning Commission.
Sure.
And also taking in the study that Tess did last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. That was just going to mention that, yeah.
So that is really like our real pulse point on what the community is looking for and taking in like our changing community assets. So that was, I came tonight with my Planning Commission hat on. That's what I wanted to contribute. Thank you.
Well, if you'd like to, like I said, if you'd like to take that back to the Planning Commission, I'm sure the council.
Meet in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'd appreciate the help
Great.
very much.
Would it make sense for the Planning Commission to be the people who organize a citywide conversation about the goals for the?
Planning Commission only meets I mean, they could.
I'd certainly be willing to help
like to
with
sort of
that.
move this along.
Yeah, can we, I guess I would suggest, Tess has been thinking about this.
All right,
I
fine.
wonder if we might
Sure.
hear her proposal
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah, well, so I did send this out to everybody. And I've made a ton of notes on it already myself, so, and this really was a draft proposal for review and for you guys, for you all to mark up, as well as, and I already have done some things with this, but as far as putting together some kind of review group, I think it would be great to have people from the Planning Commission, if people from the council wanted to be on it, definitely the Planning and Permitting Office, because they're going to be the ones to say whether actually something can happen on a property. So I was thinking it would be that kind of group, because I don't see any real pure committee that would take this on, from the council. So that was my thought on this. And so that's to answer your questions. Yeah. Okay, so, the thing, I guess the thing about this is some of this could be, as Kat says, through the municipal plan, definitely through all of the rules and regulations that we have to follow from FEMA. Like, I was talking to Janet about this, and she said, she was just looking through some things, and we're supposed to be mowing and maintaining all lots. I think we do, but we should be really cognizant that that is per FEMA rules, that as long as we have these lots that we've acquired, that we are maintaining them. So that would definitely want to go into the municipal plan. So I think when we're looking at this, and we do have this idea of what our uses are, what our desires are, and what the rules are, there may be times when somebody will come to the city manager and just say, I would like to do this with this lot, and it might be very cut and dried, and it can just happen. You might say, well, I'd still like to take a look at it. That's up to you and between you and your manager, I guess. But
Now, we usually run that by emergency management tests.
Yes,
They're
and
sort of the
DEM.
liaison, they're the kind of the go-between
Yeah.
between FEMA and the municipality.
And
So
and
as with
yeah.
this use, the current use on Hilltop, we did run that, Nicholas did run that by emergency
Exactly.
management, and emergency management said that is an allowed use.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, and I should have put that would be in that the manager does know what steps they're supposed to be taking in order to get this to resolution. And if it doesn't quite feel like it's something that the manager reviews and then puts it in front of this group that we would put together, then it would come to council. So I think that there's just, what's expedient and what is, and with just the manager approved this.
Yes,
My only reserve with any of this is I want to make sure the council has final approval on every lot that gets approved. That a group approving stuff, I would feel much more comfortable having council have that final say on every single one, and not just, reserving full council review for proposals that genuinely warrant broader discussion. Because broader discussion is kind of in the eye of the beholder, so I think that at that point, there's always a much broader discussion that can be had at a council meeting as opposed to a committee meeting like that, and then we as the council get that final say.
well, and I think a lot of people, like it or not, a lot of people, I don't know why, actually look at the council agenda. But they don't necessarily look at the planning commission agenda. The council agenda is published in the paper. It's one of the few agendas that's published that is posted at City Hall. So people tend to pay more attention. And I think it's sort of, like I said, and even Nicholas didn't deny that in retrospect, he wished that it had come to the council. So at least I'd really rather do that test, because I don't have an issue with another committee making the recommendation or a department making a recommendation saying, okay, here's our standard agreement. Here's our standard use form. So here are the boxes that we checked. We talked to a consulting engineer if it's applicable. We've got our standard waiver. This is our standard use agreement that says, even though I agree with you, the city has to maintain these lots. The city has the ultimate responsibility, but we could make it a condition of the use that they maintain the lots.
Correct.
There's a responsibility that comes with it. So, what I sort of envision is almost like the permit that you pull at planning and zoning. It's got a checkbox, and you've got to have a check in every box, and then it goes to an approving agency for approval.
Yeah.
So that's where the public could have the opportunity, use of this lot, putting the 911 address on it, and then folks have folks who live in the neighborhood say, well, okay, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, so I'd like to attend. You know, and give them that opportunity. So does that make sense?
That's fine with me. My only objective was when there's this super low-hanging fruit really doesn't need much more than to be in a city council report, you know?
Yeah.
And it may never happen. That you might never have that. I was just trying to be a little
We
expedient.
move pretty quickly
Yeah.
if we have to. I mean, you know, we can. So, you know, and with this particular one, you know, Amber, I'm sorry. Because, man, this thing has taken on a life of its own. But it's taken on a life of its own because it never came here before the council. We never had the opportunity to discuss it. And, you know, I realize there are folks, I just want to be clear and honest about things. People have said, well, this needs to stop immediately, meaning your use. No, I won't vote for that. Because there's another lot 75 feet away. Nobody's being denied anything. And that lot isn't being used at all. So folks who want to walk their dog or sit quietly, you know, we're not denying anyone the opportunity. Now, if that weren't the case, you know, all three of these lots were condemned back in 2014. They all have an equal amount of risk, whether they have a home on them or a garden on them or they're vacant. They all have the equal amount of risk. So as far as I'm concerned, if that other lot didn't exist, I'd feel a much greater sense of urgency to push this thing along. But what I'm really interested in is just getting it right, getting a process right. And then I apologize, Amber, but you are going to have to go all the way back through the process. And I'm, like I said, I'm just being honest. And if you said, Tom, I don't want to do that, I would simply say, okay, then stop using it, because that is what's going to happen. You know, you don't very often get a second bite at the apple, but that's all I'm trying to do here, is make sure that the folks who say, we didn't know, I can't argue with the fact that they didn't know. I'm the mayor and I didn't know, you know? And so I'm just trying to walk this one back, go through a process. Like I said, I'm not interested in having you stop utilizing the lot today, because again, there's a lot 75 feet away that the neighborhood can use. Yes.
I guess I would, small subject change, but we can't be the first, I know for a fact we're not the first municipality figuring out what to do about ballot lots and what's appropriate use of them and everything like that. So, and I know you know that, Tess. So I would ask that a review of other municipality use and process around buyout lots be part of the group that you're assembling, decide the process that they're going to take. I'm sure there are useful roadmaps in other municipalities, and I'm sure it won't take much time to find them. I know Michelle Braun led the process in Northfield that resulted in the space there, and for that matter in Barre City, the Brook Street Gardens were a past FEMA buyout lot. So
We look at Dog River, that was one of the ones
Dog
that I was
River,
really,
yep.
that
So
was close.
I think within 48 hours, you're going to get a whole bunch of people saying, oh, we did this, this, and this, and some really straightforward things that have worked in other communities to take into consideration as well.
Councilor Ruth here, did you have
So, to touch on what Councilor Darren said about the council having the final word, I mean, and this may be my own opinion, people might not agree with me at all, but local, state, and federal, we seem to have more subcommittees that keep packing these committees because they want more power than the council. And you may not agree with me, but I believe it's true. So I have nothing against having a T there, but I do believe final decision goes to the council. That's why we were elected. If everybody wants an opinion on it, then run for office next time. I know that's blunt, but we need to have final opinion.
Yep, I don't disagree. Ms. Allen?
I would encourage the council to again think about how planning commission and the DRB works. Also, the checklist that you were talking about, Tom, you know, like planning commission essentially sets the checklist for what land use can be within the zones or the criteria based on the land. That checklist is then passed to the DRB to ensure that checks and balances, that like one does not have any more power than the other, and we are all like not as official, but we are all official people within the city that have all been approved by council to serve in those capacities. I think there are situations that may be a larger percentage of the land use or something specific within the requirement. That final checkbox from the DRB is that it has to go before council. But everybody has so many decisions. The agendas are already very long sometimes. You know, I would encourage you to think about what Tess is describing as potential low-hanging fruit to like really what does merit council versus the DRB doing what they do in any conditional use permit within applicable zones.
Yeah, and look, I understand that, but virtually every permit in the city comes before the council on some level. And this one, and this is where it's got me stumped, and quite frankly, I'm interested in getting this right. I have a million questions right out of the box. Under charter, and I'll look to the clerk and former clerk, under charter, real estate matters come to the city council. They are subject to the purview and approval of city council, correct? Now, this is interesting because then when I delve further into that, they talk about rent or sale. This is neither. I mean, it's use. It's technically not rent. One could probably make the argument that no, this is rent and it should come before the city council. Rather than go there, it should come before the council. And if it's well done, it's going to be like so many other things that the clerk presents to us. But again, the reason is always, I believe, that no matter what it is, you see it on the agenda. So if someone had an objection to a $50,000 water rate study, it's there. And even though we're probably going to approve it, they have the opportunity to be heard. And I think that's just so important. And this is the place where generally that happens.
So with the same as other permits though, should it go through DRB first before coming to council?
No, because that's, in my mind, it's a bit redundant. It's if we have a form, if we understand the uses that we want to allow, you know, we don't, and you can Google it, by the way. I did just before the meeting, what other municipalities have done. And there have been some pretty cool uses around agriculture, but they deal with much, much, much bigger parcels.
This one here is going to be used in the future, which is good, because a lot of this first round, we're going to learn a lot, and then it's going to be used like a lawyer. When they go into the study a case, they look at, you know, cases that happen similar. So I think we're all on the same page, just the end and
Sir, you had a comment about Courier Street, didn't you?
Yes, sir, yeah.
That is so refreshing and welcome. You come right up here. And I'm sorry, state your name for the record. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
And I did initially come to speak to about Amber's use of Courier Street, but I did, because of the way the meeting's changed a little bit, I just wanted to address Councilor Guston's comment about future, how other municipalities have used their properties. I am retired, I get nervous talking about it.
Don't be.
I'm a retired conservation stewardship director for the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, and I worked with 11 municipalities throughout the state after Hurricane Irene came through and helped them write management plans and review management plans and on their FEMA buyout properties. So I would encourage you to reach out to the gentleman who's now the Conservation Stewardship Director. His name is Isaac Bissell at DHCD, because he has...
Excuse me, could you say that name again, please?
Isaac Bissell is the Conservation Stewardship Director at DHCD, and he can give you information on how other municipalities have utilized these spaces. And I know that some people are talking about commercial use versus non-commercial use, but other municipalities have allowed commercial use of, of these properties, and it's certain FEMA regulations that can't be used. So I just wanted to offer that to council.
Thank you.
I'm going to follow up and say, it sounds like Tess has the first member for committee.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you.
Martin.
Oh, you said the R word, Mark. You're like retired, so we don't want you to get bored. But no, seriously, I mean, we need some help with this. There are going to be other parcels in the city And, you know, it is important that we have the right process.
I'd be happy to help out.
Yeah.
Excellent.
May I also just briefly follow
Yeah,
up
of
and
course.
say that I know there's a wide variety of allowed uses. Specifically, what I was speaking to before in researching other municipalities was their process for determining use, not as much their allowed use, which I'm sure is also extremely Googleable and extremely findable. I just wanted to make that clarification. That's all.
Yeah. Yes.
It strikes me
Could you come up?
oh, were you not?
You already stated your name for the record.
Well, we can't hear the
Oh,
mic.
sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah, you
I'm
gotta
running the
stand
Zoom
up.
now. I
If
have
you
to
don't
be.
come closer, folks at home won't hear you. Yeah, no worries.
I'm just going to stand.
Just stand right here.
Okay, my name is Mel Chambell, and it strikes me that I really like what you're saying about trying to develop a really tight process that's going to ensure that there aren't a lot of questions that get called over time. And I think it's going to take a lot of really careful planning. And early when that flood happened, I know council talked pretty consistently about how do we draw in the whole city? How do we draw in especially the communities that have been affected and find out what they want? And I'm not sure that we continued that conversation or if we went anywhere with it, but I think, again, that opportunity is back, that we can really start crafting some wonderful things for Barre that perhaps could include commercial sorts of endeavors, other things, but it has to be so tight, in my opinion. And I worry that we might rush into this and end up with something that keeps a lot of loose ends. I mean, even with the process or lack of process that happened with this, one of the things that struck me is if Hilltop had received a letter from the city saying this is going to happen, it would have taken away some questions for people as to where did this all emanate from and how did it happen. Or even when the thing was initially on the table, the letter could go out to specific parts of the community that are going to be affected, so that, just what you said, people have the opportunity to weigh in, and people have the opportunity to not feel as though they're being precluded from the conversation.
Understood. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Linda Brittle, and
All the way up, I'm sorry. You're talking to those microphones for the people on the internets.
Yeah, if you talk at it, it's fine. You can.
Yeah, you don't have to talk right into it, but.
my name is Linda Brittle.
Thank you.
I don't live at Hilltop. I'm concerned about the precedent that's being set with, we have somebody, if I agree with her use or not, who went through the city's process that was in place at the time. We all agree it needs to change. But at the time, the process was followed. And now we're saying you have to do it all again, and you may or may not get it after the person who followed the process that was in place at the time has invested capital. I'm concerned that if we do this, then the next time somebody follows the procedure that's in place at the time, and then other people decide, oh, well, I'm going to have a snit about it. Now that person's out of funds, out of capital, out of time. That's not going to make it very desirable for anybody to invest time and money in these lots in an improving Barre. And that's my concern.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that assessment. Like I said, I've already apologized to Amber because it shouldn't have happened this way. And honestly, I'm upset about it because I give my colleagues and my city the benefit of the doubt. And ask Cheryl how many conversations we have about I should probably bring that before the council because there's a reference to this in our charter. And that should have happened. At a minimum, the council should have been made aware of this agreement and it should have been on the agenda. And then folks would have had the opportunity. And they didn't. And that was in my opinion, that was a big error in judgment. And I understand that Amber has invested time and capital into that lot. And as I said at the meeting on the 16th, Mother Nature is going to take care of this year. Because I can virtually guarantee you that this council will not act that quickly, that this committee that we're talking about and these folks we're talking about, do any counselors sit here and think that you'll see a policy much before October, November? You know, a checklist, and I don't. So, you know, I think in terms of the use for this year, I, for one, would say that is pretty secure. But, you know, I've been doing this a long time. You know, if you make a mistake, you fix it. You don't make a mistake by making another mistake because you're just going to have a mess. And the process or lack of, it was a mistake. It was a mistake, and I challenge anyone to argue that with me. And as mayor, I don't like admitting that the city made a mistake, because the city manager obviously serves at the pleasure of the council, but, you know, we all make them. And the city manager made a mistake by not bringing this to the council and not having, you know, one agenda item. And this all would have been avoided. That's disappointing to me. Yes.
Question just about how we're going to move forward. I agree that the process, the conversation about how we're going to ask Amber to go through the application process, but to be clear, the garden as it is right now can continue to be used in the way that it's being used.
And look, it's not on the agenda for a vote. I would not vote for that.
You would not vote for it to continue to be used?
For its discontinuation
Okay.
at this point in time.
Okay.
No, because as I said, you know, thank you 2015 flood, because we're off the hook. There's another lot right next door.
Right.
And by the way, my mom lives about 50 feet from that other lot, so I'm there all the time. Nobody's doing anything on it. I mean, I see people on it, you know, dogs and stuff. So, you know, I'm not aware that we're denying the neighborhood something by allowing this use to continue. And honestly, I'm not interested in just making a bad decision because it was another bad decision. I'd just rather let this thing play out.
Couldn't we vote?
I'd rather, you know, quite frankly, there's about 50 other things rather be talking about right now. DR applications, you know, since the manager left, I have been knee deep in city business and I have stuff to run. So I'm a little on the edge, and if you haven't noticed that already, and I apologize to everyone if I am. Yes.
I think to show good faith to the tea company, we vote that she continues until we get something planned.
I ain't voting that.
Well,
we've got a city manager decision, so let's let the decision stand. And we're not hiding anything. We're not, we're being transparent about it. We're giving folks an opportunity to speak, but we're just trying to, so, you know, we have an approval.
Okay.
But we all recognize that the way that approval was given in terms of process was very problematic. Yes.
I do have one more concern to raise, and that's that it's my understanding that what's on the Tilia T lot right now is cover crop for soil enrichment. It's not anything that she will actually profit from unless she's allowed to continue another year or two, because it's perennials, right? So my concern is that I don't see that Amber did anything wrong. I understand what you're saying about mistakes, but who bears the responsibility and the cost for the mistake? It sounds to me like Tilia T is going to, in some way, bear that cost for Nicholas's mistake, if it's Nicholas's mistake. And I'm not sure that I feel that that's fair.
Well, a lot of things in life aren't fair. Honestly, Counselor, I'm not trying to be glib. I don't know what to tell you. because the folks who said, look, you didn't follow a process, I can't tell them, I can't look at them and say, you're wrong. Now, the folks who said you should kick her out immediately, I can look at them and say, no, you're wrong. There's a lot right here. So again, I'm just sorry.
I do want to take exception to the, you say, people said you didn't follow a process. And I would say that statement should say we did not follow a good process. My point is that Amber did follow the process that she was told that she had to follow. She did everything she was told to. The fact that it didn't come to us for a decision isn't her fault. And I don't feel that she should be the one who's financially liable for that.
Understood. Yes.
I want to revisit what you had said about a timeline for a process, and I also see a hand in the audience. But I want to first ask Tess what her thinking on that is and next steps.
I think I would have to think about that, but I don't think it's going to take as long as we think, because we're coming up to the end of summer, so usually things really the rubber hits the road. So if I made some phone calls, if people wanted to, I could put out a little request in Front Porch Forum and on the website for people who are interested to be part of this process. And I'd be very clear that it's not about a process for accepting or rejecting anybody who has already applied. It's about the process writ large. You could pull people together. You have a first meeting, lay out all of the things that we need to do, which is, like you said, I've been taking lots of notes, putting together what other towns have done. We have to be very clear about what VEM says we can do, and with FEMA lots, and what does exist in any city charter for those things as well. It's probably going to be the other way around, that we're going to have to add things in order to feel like we're on the same page with the regulations. I don't know. I think we could pull something together by September to at least come back with something. I don't know if it's going to be complete.
So a brief follow-up question on
Yeah, of
that
course.
process. Do you envision members of the committee coming back to council for approval like we do with other temporary committees?
Holy cow, you mean talk about this again?
This is
Yeah,
this
why don't
is
you just hit
important why
me in
I'm
the head with a
asking.
bat?
Do we want to, as a council, say, Tess, you've already listed a handful of categories of
trust,
people?
as I did with the manager search committee, I trust your integrity. I trust Tess's integrity to choose some committee members. And if folks feel shut out of the process, I promise I'll hear about it.
Yeah, and the other thing about it too, it is going to be a temporary committee, right? So not unlike the ones that we have through All In for Barre. Those are not temporary, but they're not council-approved committees for the business of council.
Yeah. I mean, focus on Courier Street, focus on Scampini
that's-
Square,
I don't-
focus on,
I don't think that's a hand
it's
job.
just a
That's
cursor.
yeah,
I'm sorry?
that's technical issue.
Oh,
We're good.
okay.
Nothing.
There was another hand in the audience, though.
Michael Jackson.
Pam had her hand in
Yes,
the
sir.
audience.
Hi, I'm Mark Wasco, and I live on Orange Street. And I heard a couple of things tonight that just made me stop and think about, also process, I guess. For one thing, if you have a city manager, and the city manager says, yes, that's okay, even if that's a bad way that he did it, he made that determination. And if you set a precedent by countermanding that because you want to have a better process, you run a risk of not attracting really great people to be city managers in the city of Barre, because there's a span of control issue. And if you have a manager who makes a decision, you would expect that the decision would be honored, and then you would talk to them afterwards and say, don't do that again, or change their span of control, but you don't undo what they already did. That's the first thing. Second thing is with respect to committees, if every committee determination has to come back before the council, you also run the risk of not attracting strong people to committees, because there isn't a lot of sense in putting time into determining what appropriate actions, methodology, and programming would be if they're going to be not paid attention to or not given the appropriate amount of deference, because the time and energy that was put into the committee, which clearly the council wouldn't have, or you wouldn't need to have committees. And I'm not questioning the idea of having a strong process. I think that's a really great idea, but I think the process would probably be stuff that would be done from that point forward and wouldn't really involve stuff that already happened. This doesn't sound like a project, and I don't have a horse in this race, but it doesn't sound like this project would be something that would be so deleterious to the community, even if there weren't a couple of other lots available, that it would be the difference between this being a wonderful thing or a horrible thing. And you say, well, you got under the wire, good for you, too bad, whatever you want to say, but it's the other people that we want to make sure we don't do this 15 times, 20 times, 30 times. That's just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, and good points, Mark, but the issue, the biggest issue with this one is
Set a precedent.
anytime we're renting, leasing, selling, buying real estate, by charter, it has to come back to the council. So quite frankly, that door is wide open. If somebody wanted to challenge the city manager's decision under the guise that, look, he didn't have the authority, it should have resided with the council, I think they'd have a pretty good shot at succeeding. And secondly, virtually every, I shouldn't say every, the DRB, for example, those don't come back to the council. But anytime a committee, whether it's a cow pasture committee, any committee that wants to expend funds, that does in fact come back to the council, because that authority rests here. So no, those are all good points. And like I said, I'm all about process. And I think the best thing we can do now is, again, and I've apologized twice, Amber, because I wish it didn't happen this way. And if it had happened the way I like to see things done, and I'm not a control freak, but I like to see things come back to the council, a lot of things, because it gets it on the agenda. And there have been times where I've been shocked by how many people, it's a garden. Look, I didn't get this many people in a room when the city flooded. And and here we are. So I'm constantly surprised by, didn't see that one coming. So, yes.
Pam.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Pam Wilson. I'm so glad to be talking to you guys, not in a flood context. So the hat that I'm wearing tonight is actually as the manager of Elmwood Community Garden, and I just wanted, I am here sort of with the expectation that there may have been questions about community gardens, and that I wanted there to be somebody present at the meeting to answer some of those questions if they were to come up. So I just want to make myself available, because I think former Councillor Chambel's note about different terminology has been raised. We should, at some point, make sure you guys all feel like you know the words to use. Are we talking about community garden, private garden, for-profit with profit sharing? Like, all of these possible words are things that, like, it would be helpful to get on the same page around. Not tonight, though. The thing that I do just want to say is, if you are a Barre City resident and you want to do community gardening, you can tell me and I will get you into a plot, either at Elmwood, or I am happy to sit down with you and talk to you about how to do that on that other hilltop lot. Working with plants, you're working on a cycle that is not always the city council cycle, and you're working with seasonal cycles. If you want to do community gardening in the next season at that other hilltop lot, I would happily tell you how. We do it over at Elmwood so that you have a roadmap for how to do it when the time comes. We're going to have so many sites that we have to figure out what kind of actual community access are we interested in. And this is actually the fun stuff to talk about, because we're talking about what's your recreation? What kind of playground equipment do your kids like? What do you want to do recreation-wise? This is the good stuff of talking about community space. The hard stuff is when we actually imagine, ooh, actual humans in the community space next to me. That's the space that we have to figure out how to navigate as a community with some grace. But if you need vegetables next season, let's talk. I have space. I think that there's a little bit of a perception out there that there's always a wait list for the community garden. There's a wait list until the season starts, and then we usually get everybody in. So you can raise your hand if you need a garden plot, and I will check in with you after this meeting. Nobody? Nobody? You? Got it. Awesome.
Thank you. So,
You do have a hand
One
up.
on.
yes, oh, I'm sorry.
Just came up.
Megan? My eyes aren't that good.
Hi.
Megan Cherry. Thank
Hi,
you.
everybody. Hi, my name's Megan Cherry. I live on Orange Street as well. I've just been really listening in to everybody's comments and stuff, and it's all good stuff to me because I love to hear from the community. I think I just kind of want to just hear from the council and just kind of understand what is going to happen moving forward. That my understanding is that Tilia Tea Company will still continue to use the perennials for ground use for enriching the soil, and that we will not come to any sort of vote on it at this point, and that moving forward, there's going to be some sort of proposed thing that Tilia Tea is being requested to provide. Is that my understanding?
No, more a process, Megan.
Is that something that her company is being required to be a part of, or is this something that's being separated because Tilia Tea has done their due process to acquire that space?
They will, once we have a process, I mean, there is no written agreement, correct, Amber?
We communicated via email, and it was confirmed that the site was appropriate for use. I did due diligence in terms of soil sampling, and I talked also, I don't know this.
Right, but you don't have written agreement with the city of Barre saying,
So where we left it is that I submitted a written agreement for consideration. So I think that it was my understanding that the next step in that process was that would be under review and up for discussion.
Right.
And I think that is a good idea for all processes moving forward. I think we've got a really tough situation here where we have almost two parallel conversations going on, where I think we are having a very important conversation about what does it mean for how we make decisions as a community to use space and who's engaged in those conversations. And I think we also have the conversation of, this is the process that I have entered into, the agreements that I've entered into the city to care for this land. This is the time and effort that I have put in. And what is that process going to look like? And how do we come to some type of resolution within that? So I don't think we're too far off on our understandings of we all would like for there to be a clear process. At this stage, I would not recommend anybody going through this process that I've been put through because it's been quite stressful and unclear financially. You know, I'm a very tiny business, a very based business. It's a very hard thing to ask me to just keep going on good faith that this will work out, and that feels very challenging at this point. I think some of the questions around what are the benefits that the city would like to see in lots when there are proposed uses should be an important part of that conversation. I know that the city does have other agreements with folks like the garden club, for example, to pay for upkeep of gardens on city lots, and that's not something that I'm asking the city to do. I am installing locally and pollinator gardens, which are of no financial benefit to me, and are intended entirely as a benefit to the neighborhoods and for our ecosystems. I would also encourage the city to really think about the wide variety of resources that you have, not only in your citizens who might be part of their committee, in your expertise as well, but in the state. As part of my due diligence, I did reach out to Ben Dijon, the state geologist, to confirm that our activities on these lots would actually improve soil stability and prevent erosion from continuing on landslide risks. So I think there is some question here around how much due diligence are you asking applicants to hold, how much are you asking you all to hold, how much you're asking the committee to hold, and I think those are some of the really interesting due process questions before you. And I understand that we are figuring it out essentially live and it's an evolving process with my use of the land. But I do ask that the council take into consideration how we come to a resolution in this instance and how do we set a good process and precedent for anyone who comes next to. That feels fair and also to open the public comment. I think one of the things that happened in this process is, I come from a community organizing background. I like talking to people and engaging with people. And while I can talk with folks who are out and walking around when I'm in those gardens, I intentionally sent letters to the neighbors in the adjacent properties in both of these locations, Courier and Hilltop, because I did want to make sure that they knew what was going on. That maybe, yeah, we can agree that maybe that should have gone out on a city letterhead. And that feels like a stronger process for the future. I went ahead and did that process for you all in this instance. And I don't know that that is something that makes sense to, again, ask, like, who's holding that process? Is it the individual, is it the organization, or is it the city? I think those are important processes. We did hold that, send out those letters before we began any work on these properties. I included all my contact information, encouraged folks to reach out and ask questions. I am happy to have done that. I don't know that every applicant would be willing to hold that process on behalf of the city. And I don't think it's fair to ask anybody to do that either. And again, I'm very excited for future conversations that make clear what the expectations are, what the process is, and how to navigate that well for everybody involved. And I'm also always happy to answer questions. I think you having served as an elected official as well, and knowing that you all hold that office, I think the only other thing I would add is that communication is always a two-way street. I can do that outreach and hope to do that with kindness always. But if someone chooses not to engage, we can't make them. So.
Mm-hmm. So you don't currently have a written agreement for use of the property?
So we have
No, yes or no? It's a real simple one. Do you have a written agreement for the use? I just want to know if one exists. I'm trying to build a file.
So we have a.
Yes or no? Okay, then you don't.
Yeah, and that's the land use, so in legal terms, that's the land use agreement. We have
Okay.
it drafted, it's not signed.
Would you send that to Ms. Taylor? Because I don't have a copy of
I
that.
have it. The city already has that.
Yeah.
You do have it?
And it's in
Okay.
Nicholas's
That
files.
was reviewed by Nicholas, and we talked at length about what should be in that land use agreement so that it matched both the requirements of what would protect the city as well as what would protect me as well.
Okay.
What we do have is an agreement via email for me to use that land. So I think it'd be up to lawyers to determine whether that constitutes a written agreement. It's written via email. It's not a signed land use agreement.
Right.
Be overly specific with terminology.
Okay. Nope, that's what I wanted to know. And if you want to submit emails, that's fine too. And I'm just so I'm clear, Cheryl and Carol, I'm not getting an opinion from the city attorney regarding whether I'm not even going there, because eventually this will all come back to the council as it should. So we'll be okay there. Okay, anyone have questions about what Tess is going to be doing and how she's going to do it?
Final point of clarification,
Yeah.
just to reflect back what Tess had said earlier, is that we will be looking to Tess for an outline of a city process in September.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the going forward. I read in the packet, there are 2 parcels that Amber is working with, one on Courier and Marcel. Is that being opened up also? And that's going to continue work?
Don't know. Haven't gotten that far. Anyone else? Okay. Council, we'll move on to item 8C. Thank you. 8C on the agenda. This is use of the Semper Bond Request Fund for lighting improvements on Church Street, Auditorium Hill, and sidewalk improvements on Auditorium Hill. Mr. Baker.
May I take a moment of personal privilege while he's coming up?
Yeah.
Which is that you do not see a specifically listed flood resiliency plan item, which we have been doing. I do, just to speak to your previous point, we have been doing extensive conversations about city process through the flood resiliency plan. But the item just previous and the next two items all point to items within the flood resiliency plan, so I'm counting them.
Right. Okay, council, you had a rather thorough briefing on these issues in your packet. Want to review it? I don't have any questions. I don't know about the council. Council, does anyone have questions? Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Okay. Two things, really. First of all, the lighting that's in place, that's going up the hill to Auditorium Hill, those are beautiful historic lighting structure. I don't know, the poles. Poles. Yep. Are you going to be replacing them in their entirety, including the bases, or?
That was our plan, yes.
That kind of bums me out.
We were going to do that same similar,
Okay.
overhead light like that.
It's the bases that are
The bases
original.
are all crumbling, and since we were doing the sidewalk, it's the time to do the bases.
Okay.
And even the poles themselves are kind of in tough shape where they meet the concrete base.
Yeah, I know.
They're,
But
no, I get it, but yeah, maybe, what are we doing with them?
We haven't got that far yet. Would you like?
Maybe we could repurpose one or two of them, but honestly, a bunch of them are really in tough shape, so.
Yeah.
Any other?
And I guess, briefly, I'm sorry, just one second thing, which is that I'm just doing my appropriate counselor hat on. I've also had requests for more lighting in Courier Park. So if we could put that into the ideal hopper for the future while we're talking about lighting.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor.
I have a question about, so this came to us and it's on an office memorandum, but was there a bid process?
No, we normally use, we had that quote from, I think, Norway. And they've been providing us with the lighting that when we replace stuff on Main Street.
Okay.
So we just got a price from them
Okay.
to do that work.
Are we required to get a bid?
Under the procurement policy, I don't believe we are.
You can sole source if you're working with a vendor that has already been providing the same kind of materials and services with you.
Okay. And my last question is, no, sorry, that's the next item. I scrolled too far. You're good. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be replacing a total of 3, I believe, on Church Street?
Yep.
And then,
Those had been, there's a light on the corner of Washington that it was fed from across the street, and then when the pole got taken out, that cut all the lights coming down Church Street. So we had a water project to do at the end of Spalding, so we included a underground feed to that light and replaced the sidewalk. So now we're gonna replace those 3 lights on Church Street with lights to similarly match the ones on Main Street, decorative lights, so that we will have that area lit up again.
do we have any lights that are not operational on Main Street? The ones that we originally
We
done?
have some that come and go. There's some that are on it sometimes and not at other times.
Yeah,
So,
but if there are no lights that have been damaged that haven't been replaced. We did get
yeah, we've
caught
got
up
them all
on those.
replaced that
Okay.
have been damaged.
Okay, so council, if there's no other questions, a motion to approve use of the Semper Bond bequest fund for lighting improvements on Church Street, Auditorium Hill, and sidewalk improvements on Auditorium Hill would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much. Under item 8D on the agenda, we need to execute a clerk of the works contract for the auditorium project. Again, that was, I believe, a competitive bid process. And council, you did have a copy of the materials in your packet.
Yes.
So if there's no questions, unless you'd like to, I think we all know what clerk of the works is, so.
Yeah, it's a
job we were required to fill in with the design build process.
Yep.
USDA. We're asking for the Blanchard Group to be selected. It has been approved by USDA. So they've passed that vetting process.
Motion to approve would be in order.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions? You had one, Councilor Spaulding?
Yeah, I did have a question. So where, are we approving the full-time clerk?
Yes, that's the requirement.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I noticed that there was a part-time clerk in here.
They sent two bids,
Yeah,
just because they said on other projects with USDA, they were able to do part-time.
okay,
Because we went design build,
yeah,
it's a full-time requirement.
okay. I just wanted to make sure
So
that
it's-
that's not what we were doing.
It's 1,300 hours for the clerk, correct? 1,308. Wow.
40 hours.
Times 32 weeks.
Yeah.
Adds up quick.
Any other questions, council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you very much. And
Different Tom.
you sticking around, Brian? Are you gonna stick around till the end of the meeting? We're almost through it. Okay, yeah, well, because I just have a couple of things on upcoming business, and you might want to hear these. So Council Word, item 8E on the agenda. This is the Manager Search Committee update. Councilor Guston.
Yep, give me just a second to pull up the PowerPoint. Great. This is fairly brief. I just wanted to come back to council with a review of what the committee has been doing. And then at the very end of this presentation, there are two specific questions that the committee would like council's feedback on. There we go. Maybe? Sorry, I'm still learning the Zoom job. Okay, so far, the committee has developed a city and candidate profile. I sent that out to council. It is also available on the City Manager Search website. This is part of the work that we contracted with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns to do. We had extensive conversations about that, looked at multiple versions. I think it's actually a really interesting and thoughtful document that talks about where the city is now, where we're looking to go into the future, and who we're looking to help us get there. We have posted the job. It's been up for about a week and a half now, so it is out there in the wild doing its thing. And we've also completed a phase 1 public input, and that phase 1 public input informed the development of the city and candidate profile. And what did that include? That included tabling at Courier Park with good old-fashioned stickers and large boards. It included 2 different lunchtime Zooms that Ryan and Carol ran, which were not well attended, but the opportunity was out there. An evening forum that was also not well attended, but again, the opportunity was out there. Public survey, which did get actually a ton of responses, and a lot of really deep and thoughtful responses, and an employee survey, which also got quite a lot of responses. And I would say both of those last 2 really did a nice job of shaping our thinking and our conversations with Dominic Cloud, who's our VLCT consultant. And so there has been a good deal of public shaping of this process. All right, phase 2 public input is where we are right now. There's a citywide survey available now. If you are playing along at home or in the room, you can scan that QR code and be taken to the survey. The link is also out there on Front Porch Forum. Any minute now, probably tomorrow morning, it will also be up on the City Manager Search website. The second phase, the first phase was about the city and the challenges the city is seeing and the opportunities the city has. The second phase is about leadership. What leadership qualities do you think a new city manager for Barre could or should have? It asks you to name your priorities, and it also asks what first-year priorities for a city manager should be right out of the gate. So it's really focusing in a little bit more on the specifics of candidates, which is going to be helpful to us and to Dominic as we review the applications that are coming in. So that's out there. I would encourage everyone to please take a look at the survey. Please fill it out. It's a fairly quick one. It's mostly check boxes that you choose your priorities, and then you have the option to write your feedback further if you would like. And there will also be a forum at the Aldrich Library next Thursday, August 6th, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. The topics will be the same ones covered in the survey, so don't feel like you have to go to both of them unless you're super into this, which if you are, you're awesome, but don't feel like you have to. You can just fill out the survey if you don't have time to go to the forum, or if you're an in-person kind of person, please come to the forum with the committee. What are our next steps? This is the timeline that the committee went over at our meeting last Thursday. The application, job posting is out there. The application will close on August 14th. We plan to do first round interviews August 13th through 25th. Those are a little bit rough dates. We're not going to kick someone out on if they want to interview on the 26th. The 13th will be our regularly scheduled meeting, and that's when we'll sort of kick off that interview process, establish our time blocks for interviews. The city's HR administrator, Ginny Galliano, is going to provide a sort of how to interview primer for us. And then there's also a regularly scheduled meeting of the committee on August 27, which we anticipate being our discussion based on the interviews over the previous 2 weeks of what finalists to recommend to City Council, and hold for a question on that in the next slide. And then there is currently a regularly scheduled City Council meeting on September 1, and we would tentatively propose to bring our list of finalists, the number to be determined, to City Council for their initial review. At that point, the process is out of the committee's hands and into council's hands, and we can and should have further conversations as a council about the next steps to take for the candidates, including what types and levels of interviews to do. And the committee is, I'm looking at the members in this room, I believe, willing to help with those next steps if council asks, but we'll sort of have to be invited back into the process at that point. I will say what I said to the committee, which is this is an ambitious but doable schedule. It does require on the committee firing on all cylinders, but it's a good committee and everyone is very ready and excited to do that. So to forestall anyone thinking, wow, that's fast, it is. We're in a position to move fast. We have the right committee to move fast. And I think this is one area where our VLCT consultant is really going to help us move fast. Last section here, I have 2 questions that have come out of these conversations for council. The first is how many finalists should the committee bring to council September 1? For just context from our last city manager search, we had 30 applicants. We did first round interviews with 8. Council at that time requested 4 or 5 finalists to be forwarded on, 5 if you liked 5, 4 if you just weren't that excited about the break point between the 4 and 5. We did move 5 forward to the city council at that time, and then council winnowed it down further. From there, I would not be surprised if our numbers shake out, at least for the initial application and the first round of interviews, to be about the same. So I would ask council, how many finalists would you like to see on September 1?
We have 2 questions.
Yep. We'll go to the second question then.
First, no more than 5.
Yeah.
Honestly, my preference, it really depends on the candidates. That's a really hard question to answer because I don't know what we haven't seen the quality of the candidates. So if the committee feels that, so I would say no more, my opinion, no more than 5. My preference would actually be 3, but I'd like the committee to look at 5 and say, this is why you're getting 3. Okay. So here was 5. So, and then we further narrowed it to 3. Here are your 3. And this is why these 2 did not make the cut, so to speak. What do you all think?
I like that, and then the in-person finalist round.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the last time we did this, we looked at it as though we were interviewing as much as the candidate was. And we really encouraged them, if they weren't familiar with Barre and Mr. Sturilla Castro was not, we really encouraged him to visit Barre and be familiar with Barre. Because obviously you want someone to be happy here. So absolutely, I think in person would be my strong preference. Yes, and then yes.
My concern, I agree with you on all points. My concern with an in-person finalist round is if it's someone who has a current position and they don't want to let their current employer know that they're applying, can we accommodate that? Can we be flexible?
Oh, absolutely.
We contemplated that
Yeah.
in the discussion in the special committee about that. That's one of our biggest concerns was that.
No, listen, we said that, right from the get-go. I made sure, like I said, some things I always have to say, even though I trust that everyone's professional, but I had to look at Councilor Guston and say, and these committee members need to understand that if there is the slightest breach of confidence, I will bounce them from that committee so fast, So some things you just got to say. So I absolutely agree. If there is someone who says, look, if I am offered this job, I will likely accept. That's why I'm here. But if I'm not offered the job, I'm concerned that it would put my current employment in jeopardy. No, I'd absolutely accommodate that. Yes.
I just have a question, and that, because I've done deployment in churches, and one of the things that always comes up is about residency. Am I correct in my understanding that there's a Barre residency requirement for this?
So the charter requires that the manager be a resident of Barre unless that is waived by council. We've also had extensive conversations about this within the committee. Apparently, we're one of only a very small handful, maybe 2 or 3 municipalities that would still enforce that. We had this conversation during the last hiring with the last city manager. As it stands right now, obviously it's charter. We have been clear in the job posting and the job description that there is a residency requirement in charter that does have to be waived by council. It will be up to this council when they're looking at the candidates, whether or not they're open to waiving that residency requirement. And it's out there. It is a requirement. If they're doing their due diligence, they're going to see it. It may turn some candidates off from the get-go.
I was thinking that if we were talking about somebody in state, that might be a deal breaker.
It might.
Well, to go a little more on what Amanda said, the charter does specify after that they do have the option to go in front of council to not be a resident.
Yeah, sure.
That's a big part of that charter but I agree. I mean, it'd be nice to have local.
And I remember when we changed that, Carol, I think it was your tenure, when we changed that the council could waive it.
No, that hasn't been changed not during my tenure.
No?
No.
So, but it's there for a reason. And, it's just worked out that, Mr. Sturilla Castro found a home in Barre.
Right.
So that worked out. And that was his choice and his preference. Mr. McKenzie already lived in Barre. And Mr. Craig was actually my next door neighbor. He found a house in Barre too and moved from.
He had moved somewhere since he was coming from Croatia. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's always been it's never been an impediment. And, again, you make an accommodation for the right candidate. And the fact that they want, need to live in Water, or maybe they're a resident of Waterbury, maybe they're a resident of Randolph. And so I'd certainly let the candidates know that for the right candidate, I'd be shocked if this council wouldn't waive that requirement.
And that's roughly what it says.
Remember, on the last round, we had I think there was the 2 finalists when Nicholas applied. They came in and had a meeting with department heads, right? Will you be doing that with this group?
So this moves us on to question 2, because this is part of that question of so I'm hearing 5, but ideally 3 from general, just to cap the first question. That sounds great. Would council like an in-person finalist round? Speaking personally, I know that just as a committee member, not as a counselor in the last search, I found the in-person meeting hugely helpful in understanding the two different paths that the city had with the two very different candidates. I know that bringing them to meet staff, bringing them to meet the public, we toured public works projects, we toured other things around the city. You know, as the mayor says, it was an interview for the city as much as for the candidates. They were hugely, hugely helpful. I do think we did lose, there were three. We did lose one candidate who could not commit or was unwilling to commit to the in-person round because they already had a position elsewhere in the state of Vermont and sort of didn't feel comfortable exposing that or jeopardizing that by doing a very public day-long process. And that is a very, very real risk if we make absolutely certain that we want this day-long interview. If you had to, like, where I am, like 51-49 on an in-person process. I think it was hugely valuable. I would like it, but I also I want us to get the right candidate. So I would open it up for conversation.
Anyone? Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you on any of those points. And never and forever are really big words. So I try really hard not to use them. I mean, I agree with you. I think we could even accommodate, I trust our department heads, obviously. So if we said, for example, we'd like you to have the opportunity to meet with the department heads and have an hour-long conversation. If I said to Mr. Baker, look, this meeting is in confidence. So, you're not to take the person's name down and leak it, but I want to give them the opportunity to meet you. I want to give you the opportunity to meet them. I'm giving you that courtesy, and all I expect in return is confidentiality. And there are always ways that we can accommodate that, but I'm with you. Unless there's a reason, if someone just said, well, I prefer not to, well, I'd prefer you do when you're going to do it. But if it was, this could jeopardize my current employment, then I would understand that. I wouldn't want to do that to someone.
So I'm hearing a process that, as we sort of look at our finalists and assess their level of comfort with doing that we would want the process to be equal across the board. So if we have really good candidates who are reluctant about that, we can design a process that does maximize that privacy, but also maximizes the time in the city itself. I don't think, our private detective corps is good enough that if we take them out to dinner, they're going to get outed. But we can figure out some things to do that introduce them to Barre, that introduce them to the council. I mean, the ideal would be that everyone says, absolutely, bring it on. I want to do a full public forum. But that's what we did last time, and I think it was hugely, hugely helpful, but we'll sort of see as we get closer.
Yeah, and we gave people, but again, I would strongly encourage, if there was an out-of-state candidate, I'd strongly encourage them, and even if they said, look, is there something you can do to help me out with the in-person interview? And we said, sure, we can. Mm-hmm. I would still look at them and say, I strongly encourage you to visit Barre. You don't have to visit Barre and let people know why you're here, but I would I would. Yeah. If I was, and I'm making some assumptions here. I'm sort of assuming that that person is partnered. I'm assuming that perhaps they might have children. Well, if I was doing that, if I was uprooting my partner, my family, I'd sure take them where we might be living and show them around.
Yeah, and I think maybe I want to be clear here too, that there are a couple of levels to what we're talking about. I don't think there's any future in which we don't bring the candidates before council for an interview. So I don't think there's any future in which anyone we seriously consider for a city manager position does not set foot in Barre City at some point. I think what we're going to have to weigh carefully going forward is what other things we do with them when they're here that day. Department heads, yes, we can assume a certain level of confidentiality there. But we also, last time we did a public forum. We opened up an hour where anyone from Barre City could come. We did very public lunches and dinners with folks in the community. They toured. Nicholas, they each got a choice, and Nicholas chose, he went to a classroom and talked to, I think they were sixth graders.
Humanities in high school.
I'm sorry?
Humanities over at Spalding.
Yeah, so there was a much more public
Right.
exposure for the candidate. And I think that's what we're really going to have to think about.
And honestly, I really liked that process. And I think we ended up, picking a good candidate. Only a 3-year candidate, but still, we ended up picking a good candidate. So I'd say, I think you've got the gist of it from the council. You know what our preference is, but then again, we don't want to discourage folks from applying and getting into the final round.
We'll said that, Neil. Were there any other questions on the other? I want to go back to just the timeline slide. Any other questions on anything else?
Yes.
I was just curious why the application's closing on the 14th and the first day of the interviews is the day before that. That seems odd to me.
So we do expect to have candidates that will move to the interview round before the applications close. So 2 things. First of all, we do expect fully for that to happen. And second of all, that is like the opening of the first round interview process. I don't necessarily know if we'll do any interviews that day. That's our regular search committee meeting is on the evening of the 13th. So we'll have that briefing on interview process. And we will get our initial briefing on candidates and set blocks of time because we're going to have to, and we've discussed this as a committee, we're going to have to set chunks of time for folks to do interviews with us during the day and the evening and achieve flexibility. So I would expect those conversations to be the beginning of that first round interview process. If Dominic calls us and says, we have the candidate I could not possibly have dreamed apply on August 1st, you have to interview them right now. The committee is going to be flexible to do that while still respecting the rest of the process. We're not just going to dump the rest of the application window out the door, but we are going to move fast if there's good stuff happening. If that hopefully answers it.
Yep, perfect. Anything else, council? Appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Both
I would also ask
and Councilor Ruthier, I appreciate it.
other members of the committee, we've got Brian and Carol and Councilor Ruthier, if there's anything that I skipped or messed up or.
We'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Hey, you can call me out, Carol. It's good. It's
All
good.
right.
I can take it.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, under upcoming business, Brian, I really want to have a discussion about West Patterson Street. I'm sorry, but, it occurred to me, there are certain streets that make you think. And as they've closed Hill Street, and, I got to go all the way, 2 or 3 miles. Go all the way into town. And then you've got the left-hand traffic arrow that lets about 3 cars through from
3 if you're lucky.
to Route 14. No, it's different. Listen, we're humans. We struggle with change, all of us. And so I got thinking about it, and then I really just started thinking about that neighborhood. Maybe it got me in a bad mood, and I'm thinking, so I went down, I've been driving down Air Street and actually going the long way and then coming out right above your place, Counselor, and going that way. And I thought about it and I said, West Patterson has been closed for so long. And we've rerouted all of the traffic that used to go up West Patterson down Air Street, which probably explains why Air Street is so tough. We've talked about West Patterson and we need to have a discussion about potholes as well and paving and next year's paving schedule. But we've never really gotten a firm assessment on just what's wrong at West Patterson and how dangerous is it and how expensive is fix.
Well, we did have, Sanborn had, sorry.
I'm taking the Zoom thing very seriously now.
Do you want to kill that so that we can see?
Yes, thank you, Carol. I told you to tell me what I was doing wrong. I opened myself up for that. It's good.
Yeah. So after the flood in '23, we did have Sanborn Head do a preliminary review of that, and they had told us that the repair was probably somewhere between $250,000 to $500,000 for that one street. And that's why we decided to not pursue it, just seeing that money would be well spent on other projects at that time.
Yeah.
So that's what we have an initial, they did some There was no, I don't believe they did any soil borings. They just visited the site, being an expert, and gave their opinions on that.
I wonder if it would be worth having them come back again.
Well, was that amount based on a one-way traffic flow like it currently was before, or is it?
That was, I believe, just the one-way traffic. That was to stabilize what was there, because the initial was that it would probably have to put in sheet piling and everything to hold that lower
bank
side of the road there. And
it's just
that's
such a
when you're
safety.
getting,
Yeah.
I have two things. I would love to have a bigger discussion about this. I know I'm looking at some people who live on Orange Street and they're like, please do not open West Patterson up again. I know that. I can feel it. I can feel it emanating. But I also know that when I was outdoor knocking, I had got questions from people who lived on the very, very end of Orange Street and who are concerned about that it's continuing to erode. And I wonder if we could also talk about what the bigger issue is there with that ravine, with West Patterson. And if we decide not to open it, what are we going to do with it? Because it's just continuing to decay and grow over. And Marcy, who lives right on the corner, has said, I'd be happy to help with like planning. Are we going to make it a path? Are we going to? So I think we should have some more discussions and find out like really what does it look like? But I think we should talk about it.
It's so tucked away and we're all so used to it by now that you really don't think about it until you drive down Air Street, and I don't have high schoolers anymore.
You walk down the street.
So when you drive down Air Street, all of a sudden, oh yeah, West Patterson, oh yeah, now I know. So, yes, Pam.
As the parent.
You gotta come up.
As the parent of someone who walks to the high school, I feel like at this point, when we look at West Patterson and I balance out the likelihood that the kids were going to get creamed by cars speeding up West Patterson in one direction around that curve versus the likelihood that something is going to happen to them walking down that ravine, I am so much more comfortable having them walk down the broke down path than I am with how closely drivers were passing young teenagers. And we've got a mix there of new drivers going past teenagers, sometimes walking in groups. The quality of life change, and I want to hold space for the people who say, it's made my neighborhood busier or it's made my commute longer, because that's real. But in terms of valuing the lives of young people in our community, their ability to walk safely to and from school, and to not have to, they get to have like conversations when they walk home from school now, not like be on guard from, somebody with a truck who just learned how to drive or who really needs to be someplace in a few minutes. Like that traffic was really frightening coming up that street. And it also meant that around the end of the school day, the beginning and the end of the school day, there was incredibly fast traffic moving down all along Orange Street for people who were dropping kids off and then zipping to get to work because we would have parents dropping kids off at school. So in terms of quality of life.
But the other token, what if there's a fire at the school or heaven forbid a shooting? I mean, there's only one way in, one way out. That's not going to be very.
There's two. Because you have Boynton Street.
Well,
that's the street.
Yeah,
I'm talking about getting out of there quick. Yeah, West Patterson is a.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to bump up the streets that, and there are only two, Nelson and West Patterson. I think those are the only two left that are actually actively closed to traffic because of storm-related conditions.
Camp Street, but that's.
Nelson Street, I can tell you right now, I'm going to be firing up my backhoe, and I'm going to be opening that back up this weekend, because the number of people, first of all, on social media, they're actually saying, people are saying on social media, I decided to close the street because I don't want traffic going past my house.
I saw that.
When Karen jumps in, it's like, okay, I'll deal with it. But I never really do you know why it was, because I had opened it up the first time so that walkers could get through the middle, and then I put caution tape on it. It was safe. And I assume it's because that lower drain started to function and you were afraid it was really
Well,
undermining?
we didn't know it was opened.
Oh. I only kept it there, and I'll tell you why that happened.
Is that the night of
Because
the-
people were going around the barriers, and I opened it the weekend that an elderly gentleman, Karen caught him on the ring cam and tried to help him. In the spring, it was getting muddy where the sides are because it's just grass, and then more people walk on the grass, it got muddy, and a gentleman slipped and ended up in the brook. And that's when I said, no, this is unsafe, but people are, no matter what we do, Brian, they're getting through there. They're jumping the barricades. So we might as well do an assessment. I know you do.
No, I mean, I went right over.
I know you
was like,
do.
I need to get to work.
I know you do. Everybody does. So they're jumping the barricade. So we probably ought to assess whether.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that, but we didn't know that it had been opened.
Oh.
And that
I didn't charge you.
the night of the flood, we had someone up there to check that culvert, and he came to me and said, why are these barriers open?
Yeah.
We didn't have them that way. And I said, well, put them back because we don't know the condition of the road underneath it, and it would be dangerous for vehicles. It could be dangerous.
Oh, a vehicle, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so because the acid test for me is we actually have property on the other side as well. So now if I want to mow, I have to go all the way around Delmont to mow it.
But the other issue is that there are a lot of walkers on Nelson.
A lot.
Because it's one of the very flat streets in our neighborhood. Every other street is a hill or a hill. So it's a nice street to walk, and it's also where all the kids from up above, that's how they get to school. So I'm just afraid if we don't even crack it enough for pedestrians, they're just gonna jump over the barriers. I did it, and I'm not very nimble, so.
Maybe have some guys up there, maybe we'll do a little investigation.
Yeah.
It's
pretty undermined. I mean, in fairness,
It's gone further, because it's really on that you see it on the lower side.
Yeah.
But we don't really know if it has gone any further to the upper side of it. So.
Right.
We'll go take a look at it, and if we feel that it's somewhat safe, maybe on that upper side, we can just make a path through there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of having the discussion. I guess I'm just like asking us to put this on an agenda for future meetings so we can properly
Okay.
warn it and.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying to Brian.
Okay.
I'd like to just get an update on any projects as a result of flooding that we haven't completed. Yeah, yes.
I just, if we do have this on the discussion, I'd like us also to think outside the box a little bit about the possibilities of putting in a pedestrian bridge instead of opening it to traffic again.
Nelson or
Or
West
Nelson.
Patterson?
Nelson was what I was thinking. I don't think, because that looked doable. West Patterson didn't look doable for a
Could be a really
pedestrian
cool
bridge, but.
It's a very expensive, yeah. Well, we can let the discussion go there when the time comes.
So on an early roundtable, I do want to say, even though there's a lot of confusion, I do appreciate all the infrastructure you guys are doing. I mean, there's so many roads right now that are being taken care of, and that really makes it look like we're getting our SHIT together and getting our roads back together, and
We're trying.
no, but it shows. I mean, people whined and complained, but now it's pretty hard not to hit a construction and barrier right now because you're doing so many. So that's a positive. That's my roundtable thing.
Absolutely. Then we'll move to Councilor Bergeron.
Yeah, that's fine, pass.
Councilor Spalding.
I got to go to the Heritage Festival, but and it was really great. And the thing that I wanted to highlight was I went to the Taste of Barre. I didn't even really eat any food because I spent too much time talking. I know, shocker.
Really?
But, yeah. But it was a great turnout, and the food looked amazing. I only had a few things, but it was just great. And I was glad to have that part of the Heritage Festival back, so.
Fantastic. Councilor Guston.
Okay, well, I can confirm that the food did taste amazing. Spectacular Heritage Fest. Just had Saturday, start to finish. From Wednesday through Saturday, really, were incredible. We had a ton of people up to the History Center to see what the Historical Society has done with the old Spalding building. Saturday was just like a perfect day in Barre. I laughed so hard at the reenactment of the Holden Barre fight, like I was crying watching that wrestling fight. It was so good. So just, yeah, hats off to the Barre Partnership for that, and to everyone who participated, who came through the Rotary Breakfast and pulled the Bell Vans truck.
132 tickets were sold. From
I greeted just about every single one of them. It was incredible. It was a great morning and a really great day. So thank you, everyone.
Well, I was going to say two things. What was the Barre Heritage Festival was a lot of fun, and I particularly enjoyed participating in the parade, which was really fun. And thank you, Councillor Spalding, for lending us your car. The Neighborly Barre Committee decorated the little convertible for that. And the other thing I just wanted to tell everybody is that Mr. Pickwick's garden has gotten its summer update, and he's all cleaned up and pretty, and that was done in time for the festival.
Fantastic. Counselor?
Just love seeing all the amazing things that go into Heritage Festival. We constantly look at things throughout the community throughout the year, and say, wow, what's going on with Barre, and positive and negative. But really, this was an opportunity for us to look around and just see all the people working hard together to get one big mission accomplished, between people sweeping sidewalks, people cleaning windows, just people being kind and respectful to each other. And it's just a remembrance of what we as a community really are built about, and how when we come together as a community, nothing is impossible. So just kudos to our community for an amazing event, a couple days. I think I spent probably 18 hours downtown between Friday and Saturday just talking with our residents. Just a blessing of an event. So kudos to all those that put in all the hard work, and I'm just really proud to be a Barre resident.
I'd like to add to thanks to Pastor Ray for being a good sport in the dunking booth.
Yes. Yes, they even let my husband use a soccer ball when he kept missing. I hit it first try, and then he whiffed it like 7 times. So they let him go up to the little kids line and use a soccer ball.
Mayor, may I have one more?
Of course.
So for those of you who love soccer, football, as much as I do, the Vermont Green, our USL2 team, is going to play the championship on Saturday night. They're playing in Flint, Michigan. The Barre Social Club is hosting a watch party that's open to anyone, 7:30 on Saturday. So if you want to come cheer on the green, show up. Or you can
Very
stream it
cool.
on your own TV if you want to stay home.
Okay, council, motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian, appreciate it.
Oh.
Well, that wasn't so bad.
All right. I'm going to end.
That could have been a lot